Okay, here we go. So I told you guys that I was going to help you with this in lab today, but then I realized that I had a volleyball game, so I was going to have a sub. So I'm going to make a movie instead so that you guys are not screwed for your quiz. Okay, so here's the worksheet. It was writing the recursive and explicit equations for each table. So for number 1, here was our table, and then you have to write your recursive. Okay, so our recursive is always f of whatever our first x is and the first y. So it's f of 1 equals 8. Then it's f of x equals f of x minus 1 plus, and then we always know that this is going to be mx plus b. Okay, so I had to figure out my second difference because that's what goes right here. Okay, so I go here and I figure out my first difference, which I probably should have done already. It's plus 18, then it's plus 26, and then it's plus 34. If you don't know how to do that, take this number 26 and do 26 minus 8. You'll get 18. Then do 52 minus 26, and you'll get 26. So that's how I get these numbers right here. Okay, so that's our first difference. Then I need the second difference, so I'm going to go from here to here, which is going to be plus 8 and plus 8. So that's my second difference. Okay, so the plus 8 always, every single time, goes right here. So it's always going to be 8x. And then I have to say, okay, what do I have to add? So this is when I make a new table, and it's going to be my x's and the first difference. So to just make that super obvious, it's going to be these numbers right here and these numbers right here. Notice that there's 4 of these and only 3 of these, so you always have to skip the first one. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. I color out the first one, then I go 18, 26, 34. 18, 26, 34. Now I have to say, okay, what's the equation for this? So you told me to multiply all of my x's by 8. So here are my x's, so I'm going to do 2 times 8. Well, 2 times 8 is 16, but I want 18, so I have to add 2. Let's do it with this one. I go 3 times 8. Well, 3 times 8 is 24, but I want 26, so I have to add 2. Then I go 4 times 8. That gives me 32. And then I have to say, oh, but I need to add 2. So this adding 2 every time is what goes right here. So there's your recursive equation for number 1. Now you need to figure out your explicit equation, which got a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to use a new piece of paper for the explicit. Okay, so we're going to find the explicit equation for number 1. So here's our table all over again with our first difference and our second difference. Then I have my equation, which is always ax squared plus bx plus c. A is always your second difference divided by 2. And then c is always the y value when x is 0, also known as your x-intercept. So go in your table, find x is 0, and then what's the y value. Okay, so let's do our a value first. That's the easiest. So we're going to do our second difference divided by 2. So to just make it real obvious here, okay, our second difference is 8. So I have to do 8. I'm going to say a equals 8 because it's my second difference divided by 2. So a equals 4. Okay, so my equation so far is 4x squared. Okay, so that's my equation so far. I'm sure of my a value is 4x squared. Now I need to know what my c value is. So again, it's your y-intercept. It's when x is 0, what is y? So go look at your table. Okay, now there is no 0, so I have to go backwards to 0. So I left some space in my table. It makes it easier. So now we've got to do our pattern backwards. Okay, so that means I have to figure out what this number is right here. But to figure out what this number is right here, I have to use my second difference pattern. So my second difference, I was adding by 8 every time. So if I want to go backwards, I'm going to subtract 8. So I get 18 minus 8 is going to give me 10. So that tells me that to get from this number to this number, I needed to add 10. So I want to go backwards, so I have to go 8 minus 10. 8 minus 10 is negative 2. Okay, so this negative 2 is your C value. Okay, so now my equation is 4x squared. I know I'm going to have a plus bx, but I don't know it yet. So then I have a negative 2 for C. I'm just going to rewrite that as 4x squared minus 2. Okay. Now this is the part where we have to go and find b. So I'm not quite sure what my equation is, but I think that it could be this. Okay, this is possible. So I'm going to go and I'm going to see if it works. So I'm going to make an x table, and I'm going to use this equation. I'm going to say 4x squared minus 2, and I'm going to see what that gives me. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to take these x's, and I'm going to plug them in right here. So I'm going to do 4, 1 squared minus 2. 1 squared is 1 times 4 gives me 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay, so right here I have a 2. Now I plug in the 2, so I go 4 times 2 squared minus 2. Parentheses and exponents first, so that gives me 4 times 4 minus 2. 16 minus 2 gives me 14. So there's a 14 right here. Okay. Now I do the 3. So I go, where can you see this? If I go right here, 4 times 3 squared minus 2. 3 squared is 9, so I have 4 times 9 minus 2. This is 36 minus 2, which is 34. All right, there we go. So I'm looking and making sure this is right. I'm not sure where we cut off at, so I'm going to assume that we didn't do this adding thing. So I listed all of my x's, I listed all of my original y's, and then I said, how much do I have to add? 2 plus what is 8? Oh, I have to add 6. 14 plus what is 26? Oh, I had to add 12. 34 plus what is 18? Or 34 plus what is 52? Oh, I had to add 18. And then I noticed, oh look, all of the things that I'm adding by are changing at a rate of 6. Okay, so that is my B term. And then if you look, you can check it. How did I get all these numbers? I did 2 times 6, oh that's 12. 3 times 6, oh that's 18. 4 times 6, oh that's 24. So I had to change my equation by taking my x value and multiplying it by 6. So your bx term is 6x. So our final equation is 4x squared plus 6x, that's what I had to adjust it by, minus 2. And there you go. There's your final explicit equation.